Today I wanted to talk about the dark night of the soul. All I have to say is I have been there. I know exactly what it's like, and maybe I can share my experience and that will have something to do with what you were going through. Oh, it is a gruesome process. I'm sure you're tired of hearing that it's just going to get better, it's never going to be like this, but when you are in it, it doesn't feel that way. It feels like this is just your life now, and there is a huge sense of hopelessness and darkness that just envelops you, and there was no even like glimpse of hope or real understanding of what was going on. My experience was after 2012 I had developed a huge amount of anxiety and kind of social anxiety, and a lot of my old past fears were kind of coming up to the surface. Of course, at this stage I was 22 and had no idea what any of that was. I began to see a therapist. I was just crying all the time and just had a really rough few months. And just kind of kept living my life, had a great time in between all of that. Moved to America, had fun, still kind of partying, still working hard, still just living a very kind of materialistic life. I had always been a deep person, but never to the level of like what I am right now. Then when this all began, I started feeling, as I've said in previous videos, very spiritual. I began a small dose of antidepressants before this, because there was still an inkling of kind of fear that anxiety was going to come back. September of 2015, my Kundalini began. My Kundalini became activated, and so right after that I was like, I am detoxing, I'm not going on anything. I went off the antidepressants. I was just full of bliss and love. I felt like I was looking at everything in like a bigger picture. Like I had been just so limited, and like I had just like only looked at things like very narrowly, and suddenly there was an expansion. It actually felt like my mind had grown. About 2 months after that, in the grips of November, it happened very from night and day. I just woke up one day and it was horrible. I really struggled with like allowing myself to feel these feelings. I just thought like I was on such a good roll. Why is this happening to me right now? Like it doesn't make any sense. What is this? I'm just going to discuss some of the some of my thoughts and some of the things that I was believing at this time. I felt alone. That I really did have Kundalini. It was 100% a fact, but that there was no information really, and that there was nobody in my life who even remotely was spiritually inclined other than my mother. I really started feeling like I didn't want to see any of my friends. I really didn't want to be a part of anything, and that this was just me by myself, and that I had to come to terms with me being alone for probably the rest of my life. I genuinely thought that. I still feel alone to this day, but not in that way. The whole part of integration and empowerment and feeling the best of who you really are is actually integrating with everybody and being able to interact with everybody, and not being like, well, if you're not spiritually inclined and don't understand what energetic blockages and what Kundalini is and what high vibration is and thousands of other concepts, then I have no interest in you, and nothing that you're saying is irrelevant to me at all. And it was very much like that. My priorities began to change. Nothing that I had interest in before, I could find interest in. Even in the most mundane daily activities that would fill up your day, like reading and maybe scanning the internet, maybe calling a friend, maybe watching a movie. It was like all of the luster that was in that had just completely been depleted. There was nothing I could, not even a tiny bit of joy that I could even muster up for any activity. It was nothing. I felt like I had waken up into a hell realm, and I just kept wanting to sleep and hoping that with time it would just kind of shift. But it's just fun, like the things that our brain is going to tell us, and especially me, like I have kind of like an inferior ego. I don't really believe in like grandiosity. I kind of like bag on myself more and limit myself in a lot of ways, and that was a way of like limiting myself, was not allowing myself to trust and have faith in a process that I could not see. And so I kept wanting to be like everybody else, and then everybody who knew I was kind of getting dark and sick thought that, you know, this was a medical condition or something like that. And so I wasn't really brave enough to say like, no, this is a process of something that you've never heard of before, but I'm confident in what it is. And I wasn't able to do that. I just wanted to be, I still wanted to kind of be normal with something that is going to break your foundation and like scatter the pieces of who you are and not leave you normal at all. And now I'm totally comfortable in being like exactly who I am, even though I'm taking baby steps to being confident in that. That is still my only desire. It does really give you the desire to be truthful to yourself, your inner child, what I would really find fulfillment in and would really want to be doing right now and really believe and really think. Like, I don't think I really ever had the guts to do that. I always felt myself as slightly inferior, slightly insecure, even though everyone saw me as like a social like butterfly. I could dominate any social situation. Deep down, the reality was I wasn't really being true to myself. Desire for becoming a whole, becoming a truly empowered person, a truly developed person in any area. I wanted unconditional love, but at this time of darkness I had none. I didn't feel any for myself. I didn't feel any for anybody else. It was like I had been cut off from the connection to God, and I just wanted that connection back. And it wasn't there. Of course it's there, your guides are there, you are source in a physical body, but during the dark night of the soul you really you kind of get thrown off. This is necessary because to be able to build a foundation, so if you had a shaky foundation, you weren't really who you were, and suddenly you're undergoing a metamorphosis to really become who you are and really ascend. So what do you have to do with that shaky foundation? You really have to knock it down. There is no other way. It's really punch, you break, and you have to reassemble the pieces, but this time you're doing them from a completely genuine place, and this is what you really want to be. And so in that sense it's absolutely beautiful, but when you're in the throes of it, believe me, you are not thinking that way. I began getting a lot of emotional outbursts, obviously depression, very, very dark, crying, and I was just like dealing with those emotions, like angry at society, angry at like the options that I had, like get a job and do this and do things that I didn't want, and of course the realization is that you are the one completely limiting yourself. Like, nobody is telling you, like nobody is rejecting you for who you really are. Nobody is really saying that you need to be a certain way in society. You come into the realization that this is all you, and this is an unfolding process. This isn't like I have reached any stage of, oh wow, like I am 100% empowered. It's really baby steps with each like small thing that's happening, and some of the times like it's going on within you or energetically, and your mind like doesn't catch up until maybe like a month or two later, like days, weeks. Like, you take time to catch up to the process that's unfolding. I was very hopeless. I didn't see a light at the end of the tunnel at all. I have felt no connection and no love, and I was suicidal in the sense that I had no desire to live. It wasn't that I was going to act on it. I also stopped speaking. I didn't want to talk. It was just such a low level of energy in every aspect, and such a dense feeling in my body and everything. It was just literally like my mom would talk to me and I'd be like, I hate everything. It was I felt like a teenager. I'm sorry if this sounds very negative, but I want to make a very realistic interpretation of what it is like to go through this, and that all of that absolutely changes, like 100%. So I did go through this for like quite a few months, and the first ones are the hardest, and then it's still lingering. You're still having an emotional outburst. Of course, we're still going to be going through that. It's the ascension process, but there's more time in between them, and like there's like glimmers of hope, and just everything, absolutely everything changes. I was just in so much pain. Like suffering kind of really does give us an x-ray vision into other people's pain. So with this incapacitated state of being that I was in for so long, it kind of gave birth to a whole new set of desires, a whole new way of seeing life. And since I went through that, now I don't want to sit in misery a day longer. Like especially in the last week or so, I've just had so many moments in which I noticed my limiting beliefs, and just the desire to be like, no, I don't want to sit in pain or suffering 1 second longer. And of course that's going to make way for a whole new set of challenges, and really kind of getting to the nitty gritty of my self-doubt and inferiority, and that is going to be a challenge of mine. But I don't want to be an inferior person anymore. I want to sit in my power. I want to be fully who I am, and I'm 100% going to do that. And I decided to kind of use food as a sort of control, and it was also because your energies are all over the place. You need to find some sort of outlet, and I really did kind of try and ease myself from suffering and find solace in food, which led to a whole new set of insecurities about my body and where I was going and gaining all of that weight. So it was acting out addictive behavior that I had never experienced before. I became kind of addicted to food and eating because that was the only moment of the day that I'd find relief. Just know that it's also a purging of addictive tendencies within you. And I mean, still to this day, it was so uncontrolled. Like it was really like erratic behavior, like just being in depression all day and then just waiting to eat. And like the second I would eat, it's not like I couldn't do it peacefully. I couldn't like cut up vegetables and breathe and make them like I do now. Like I enjoy cooking, I'm losing weight, I have no real desire to eat half the time. It's just coming from such a natural place of wanting to be healthy to like needing, the way it was like needing to gorge myself because my entire life was falling apart, and it was just like I would only feel calm when I was chewing. Know that this isn't going to last forever. You are not this person. It's not like you have now become a negative, angry person whose life has been robbed away from her, because that is what I felt. It's not that way. It's just you're cocooning yourself to become a butterfly. I know that I am finally coming out of the dark night of the soul, and I have full faith in what is going on, and I know what is going on, and knowledge is really going to help you. Try and soak up as much knowledge about like ascension, Kundalini, just spirituality in itself. Expanding your awareness is what's really going to like make these aha moments within you happen. Like you need to have those breakthrough moments where you go, okay, enough is enough. I don't want to live like this anymore. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to live in anger. I don't want to live in all these things. And not shy away from them, because during the dark night of the soul, you're going to have to learn to be okay with not being okay. It's terrifying and it's hard, but you need to learn how to feel, and you're not going to run away from those emotions. You have to sit with those emotions. But there is light at the end of the tunnel. There is like a moment where you have felt those, and I'm still going to feel them, but I keep getting like more and more moments where I am now inspired, and I am I'm just happier. I don't know where this is going, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with my life. I've not worked for an entire year now, and I have just been sitting and spending time by myself, and I know I have to get out there and start finding out what my purpose is. But I know I'm so confident in feeling that intuition and knowing when's the next step to move. Like now finally I have a break. I don't feel a tingling in my body. I have had a break from the physical symptoms, and now it's slowly time to build myself up from this new space, and that space will come. It really will. So yeah, I'm kind of excited about the future, even though I'm sure, like, I don't know if most of you feel that way as well. Like, we have no idea who we are now. Like, I know who I am, but I haven't like built all the qualities that I want, and I'm kind of excited because I feel I really truly feel that we can build on anything that we want to become. Like, we can do that. I think that's going to be cool. So anyway, that was my story. I'm sorry if that was hella long, but lots of love to everybody who's out there.